I recently went to a Q&A with Lando Norris and Zak Brown. There was thousands of people there was lots of questions asked, and here are the highlights of what they said. So the session kicked off with Lando being asked how it feels to be world champion, and he was also asked if he's bored of being asked that question. His answer, no, because he gets to relive it every single time someone asks him. He was also asked what his favourite race of last year was, and of course he said Silverstone, and when Zak was asked, he said it was Monaco. Lando was then asked what inspired him to become a Formula 1 driver, and very sweetly he said it was Lewis winning the championship with McLaren back in 2008. That was the thing that really inspired him to want to join Formula 1. The topic of the Vegas Grand Prix from last year came up, and they were asked about that DNF. Well, it turns out the team knew that something was wrong during the race. They could see from all of the sensors and data that was coming through from the car that there was potentially an issue with the floor. The car was riding very low and the floor was wearing away. Of course, we know now that the floor had worn away ever so slightly too much, 0.1 of a millimeter, and they were disqualified. When asked about that, Zak said, "It's quite a harsh punishment for such a minor infringement, and there are much worse rule breaks that have much lesser punishments. So maybe that needs to be reviewed." Zak was asked about how testing went. He initially joked that it was much better than Aston's. He also said that he thinks the top four are still the top four and there's a decent gap to P5, so we should see the top four teams finishing in the top 10 in every single race this year, even if they have a bad day. Although, of course, he highlighted that the cars develop over the year, so anything can change. When Lando was asked about testing, he did say that there is still room for improvement in the car, but there's lots of changes being made and they'll be in place ready for Australia, so he's feeling good. Zak also said that during testing, McLaren were not running the newest spec engine from Mercedes, which was the one that Mercedes were running during testing, but they will have it in place in time for Australia, so we should see an improvement. He also thinks that Mercedes are the strongest team so far based off of what we've seen in testing, but as he also highlighted, testing doesn't mean anything. We don't know everything about what the teams were doing. We won't really see who is the quickest until we get to Australia. Whilst talking about whether drivers really can see things around the track whilst driving around, Lando was talking about how he could see the Lando stand at Silverstone last year, but also how he gets easily distracted by birds. That was when Zak then asked if that's what happened in Montreal last year. Lando was also asked about the biggest myths about the McLaren team, and after someone in the audience shouted it out, he agreed it was papaya rules. He highlighted that him and Oscar both work for McLaren and it's their job to do the best thing for the team. He said that people like to talk about papaya rules more than it's ever actually been implemented, and it's only been the case on a handful of occasions. In regards to tension between Lando and Oscar, Zak said he's never witnessed it. He said that of course they want to beat each other, but fairly, and if they ever get frustrated, it's only with the team when they make mistakes. When Zak was asked about which drivers from the current lineup he would love to have on the team if he couldn't have Lando and Oscar, his response was Alonso and Leclerc. And Lando said that if he could have any other teammate from the current drivers on the grid, then it would either be Alonso, Lewis, or Max, and that last name got a boo from the audience. Lando was asked if he thinks that Lewis can climb his way back up the grid after having a bad season last year. He said that he didn't win those 7 world championships, joked that it should have been 8, without being just good enough. He's got the experience and he's got the ability to do it. And Lando also said that Lewis was his F1 GOAT. And lastly, Zak was asked if Christian Horner really is as bad as he comes across on TV. His answer? Oh yeah. And those are the highlights from the Q&A with Lando Norris and Zak Brown. My key takeaway, some really interesting answers about the year to come and the year that's just been, plus they were both in great spirits, which means they are looking forward to Australia and to the season ahead, as am I. As always, don't forget to subscribe to The Benchmark for more F1 content, and thanks for watching.